It's these surroundings of Ryman League football that week in, week out Bishop Stortford's players are familiar with. Most of them have never before experienced the FA Cup. This man has, though.
It's Essandoh!
It was literally injury time, and we were in the semi-finals of the FA Cup.
The player who's only on a week-to-week contract!
Even people in the streets still talk about it and ask you how it was and what it was like and but it was good.
Wycombe Wanderers of the second division had reached the FA Cup quarter-final, and a tie against Leicester City awaited. It was the biggest game in the club's 116-year history, but there was a bit of a problem.
We ran out of forwards that year in the cup run. It was a strange thing. My four main forwards, Ramel, Devine, Baird and McSporran, were all injured. Parkin, who was on loan from Chelsea and had actually scored, Sam Parkin had scored for us one of the penalties that got us through to the quarter-final. His loan was over. So I was desperately looking for centre forwards, and we're sat in the office one day, having beaten Wimbledon and qualified for the quarter-final, saying, this is brilliant, we've had the best opportunity a club's ever got, quarter-final of the FA Cup, and we've got no centre forwards to play.
So he had an idea. Why not ring around and see who fancies a game? And
the names bandied about, people like Ian Wright, Vialli, who just left Chelsea. And I said, well, let's contact them. So we contacted them via their agents and such like. Ian Wright said he would have loved to have played in the game, but he's still suffering from an ankle injury that he'd left Burnley with earlier on in that season. But if he was fit, he said he would love to have come and played. Vialli's agent came back and said he seriously thought about it, but at this stage of his time, having just left Chelsea, he didn't think it was right for him. But he was pleased to be asked, and in different circumstances, he might have come back and played. So with having gone through this idea, we thought, well, let's put an advert out. And our press officer, Alan Hutchinson, was in the room, myself and Terry Gibson. And we said, well, get it on the internet, Hutch. Ask anybody if they think they're of this standard of football and they're not cup tied. You've got to remember this is March time, and they want to play in a quarter-final of the FA, and they think they've got a chance, contact us.
Roy Essandoh was on trial at Rushden and Diamonds after 2 years football in Austria and Finland. Luckily, he had a good agent.
It's his job to know what's going on in football, and he knew the situation was going on at Wycombe at the time, and he contacted them and got back to me. And but it was basically him who got it fixed up for me to go there.
After one game in Wycombe's reserves, Sanchez still wasn't sure he'd found a solution.
I said, well, Roy, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to trial you in a first-team game. It shows the state we were at the time. So we tried him in the first-team game against Port Vale, and again, he did okay. I mean, he didn't set the world alight, and he weren't the worst centre-forward you'd ever seen.
But such was the crisis that he made the squad for the following Saturday's Cup game. Paul McCarthy gave Wycombe the lead before Muzzy Izzard equalised for Leicester. With 20 minutes to go, Essandoh's moment had arrived.
I decided to take off the two forwards and put on Stuart Castledine, who I was with at Wimbledon, and Roy. And I just said to the pair of them, just get on and chase about up front, keep the ball away from us, we'll settle for the draw, let's go home.
But it didn't end there. After one dodgy refereeing decision too many, Sanchez got himself in a spot of trouble.
The referee's come across and sent me off. So I'm spending the last 10 minutes of the game underneath the stand watching a monitor that I think a TV monitor with my secretary, Keith Allen at the time.
Wycombe looking for a winning goal here at Filbert Street. Royce knocks it down and away from the point of immediate danger. It is! It's Essandoh! The player who's only on a week-to-week contract. This is an incredible story.
After the game is more when it hits you what you've actually done and when everything counts on it, but you just think, I've won the game. Oh, we've won the game anyways. But it was great though. It was a great day.
When did it hit home that you'd put Wycombe Wanderers in the FA Cup semi-final?
Probably like about a day or two afterwards, because at the time you're a footballer. I mean, you know obviously what you've done, but you don't realise the significance till maybe 2 or 3 days afterwards when you look at the newspapers and you see the TV and people's calling you up, going on about it, and you think, well, yeah, but it's, in a day it's only a goal, isn't it? But that's when you sort of realise, oh, this is maybe bigger than I thought it was.
And Roy Essandoh has stepped from obscurity into international headlines.
I remember all my forwards limping across the pitch with the various injuries they had. Ramel, Devine, McSporran, who had a cruciate at the time, and Baird, who also had a cruciate. Hobbling across, and it summed up the day. The 4 people that would have played and perhaps could have got the glory were limping across the pitch to celebrate with the fans, and the bloke that scored it was in front of them celebrating.
Wickham went on to play Liverpool in the last 4, where the dream did end. Now, 2.5 years later, Essandoh is preparing for his first senior game since the FA Cup semi-final. So when the scores and scorers start coming in this afternoon, keep an eye out for the name that entered FA Cup folklore.
Remember the name, Roy Essandoh.
Roy Essandoh, or Essandoh if you prefer. Well, maybe he'll make the headlines again today. He plays for Bishop Stortford in their cup game at Mansfield.